Welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Judy and I love history, travel, and finding out how people live. Whether you travel in a group, with friends, or as I do, mostly independently, it's important to pay attention to your personal safety. Recently, there's been what I'd call unfavorable news coming out of Barcelona about a series of assaults on tourists, mostly seated in bars or cafes all over the city and at the airport. This isn't the usual pickpocketing we already know about. These attacks are directed against tourists, Americans, and possibly Germans and Scandinavians. The most disturbing thing about these incidents isn't that they are happening. Being exposed to no goodness is something we already know about, and it goes with the traveling. We know what steps we can take to minimize the risk and, in the rather unlikely event that we are robbed or compromised, how to recover. The disturbing part to me is that the Barcelonan police, called the Guardia Urbana, don't seem to be making much of an effort to put a stop to it. Barcelona's mayor, and I suspect soon to be former mayor, is named Ada Colau. She sat silent for more than a week after a series of assaults at the generally excellent airport, and when she did comment, it was pretty weak tea. Why did she take so long to do or say anything? The story is that she was on vacation. I've known of other mayors closer to home who claimed to be on vacation when bad stuff happened and they found themselves kicked to the curb. I suspect that without any further intervention, this mayor will be as well. She certainly deserves to be. I'm sure there are a million conspiracy theories here, but I'm not much into that. What I do know is that tourists are being singled out for assault. Law enforcement seems to be turning a blind eye, and the mayor is playing dumb. That sort of thing is really bad for business. I think it's likely that as a seasoned traveler, you are already taking steps to safeguard yourself and your possessions. This doesn't have to be scary and certainly not paralyzing. It just means taking a couple of common sense steps to be aware of possible problems and to avoid them, and to have a backup plan on the off chance that it all goes wrong. The easiest way to stay out of trouble, in my opinion, is to avoid it in the first place. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm not talking about being afraid, just wary, prepared, and making yourself a hard target so no goodniks will go elsewhere. Today with me on this short take with the Armchair Traveler. Whether it's a pickpocket or some tourist-hating thug, these no-goodniks generally seek out the unwary, the unprotected, and places where they can do you dirty with speed and efficiency and then vanish. Often victims find themselves lightened by a wallet quite some time after it actually happened, and long after the local police can do anything except perhaps file a report for your insurance company. There are two things to keep in mind here. Number one, the bad guys rely on you not paying attention one way or another. It might mean something as simple as setting your backpack on the back of your chair in a cafe. It might mean looking up at a church steeple and gawking. It might mean setting your phone casually on a cafe table. Any of these are easy. All they need is someone to distract you and your possessions will be gone. Keep in mind that the bad guys look for the easiest, fastest way to grab and go. And here, in one way, you're actually stuck. Most of the time, travelers, particularly solo travelers, feel somewhat safer in crowds than they do in an empty street. Unfortunately, there's a fixed limit to that. If the crowd is actually overwhelming, the no-goodnik can vanish into the crowd and you will lose track of him almost instantly. Do you like dogs? Did you know your pup can help you remember how to stay out of trouble? Well, remembering your PUP will keep you safe when you travel. There are three things involved here. The first P is for perception. That just means paying attention to what is going on around you. Wandering more or less aimlessly might be enormously attractive to most tourists, including me, but I do find it useful to have a good idea of where I'm going and paying attention to what's going on around me. U is for understanding. What that means is understanding how what you see and feel relate to you personally. If a situation seems wrong or feels dicey, trust your instincts and move away. That poor old woman with the 5 kids sitting in front of the cathedral might just be begging for cash. Or she could be there with the kids to distract you while someone young and agile, perhaps the oldest son, lifts your wallet. So pay attention. The final P is preparedness, which means anticipating future problems and taking steps to deal with it before you have to. Let's zero in on some of the details here. The woman in this illustration has made herself the easiest target imaginable. Notice first of all her backpack, hanging loose on one shoulder with one strap, and the fact that the top pocket of the backpack is actually unbuckled. In her left hand is her water, always important for us travelers, but not in your hand. In her right hand is a cell phone, loosely gripped. All the bad guy needs to do is come at her with a razor knife, slit that leather strap, bump her sideways, and boom. Your goal is not to fight off a thief, no matter how big and strong you might think you are. Feel free to yell, scream, point, and carry on, but do not give chase. You can only get hurt that way. Your goal is to make the thief look for an easier target. Thieves look for easy marks and will move on if they see you as a hard target and paying attention. Time is on your side on this one. Pickpockets want to work fast and scatter like roaches. Here are a couple of reminders to help you get started. Your hotel almost certainly has a safe. Sometimes there's no in-room safe, although that's increasingly rare, at least in Western Europe. If not, check at the front desk. I have trusted front desk safes as well. Either way, use it. Only carry as much cash and possessions as you're willing to lose. Leave the rest of it stashed someplace safe. The next tip is to harden yourself. For guys, a money belt worn under your shirt is ideal, even if you think it's going to make you a little hot. Trust me, you'll sweat a lot less with this than you will trying to replace your credit card in a country where you don't speak the local language. If that doesn't cut the mustard, perhaps a fanny pack, provided it's theft-proof, or a crossbody bag for the ladies will do the trick for you. I favor pack safes. I don't get paid for saying this because the body is reinforced to make it cut-proof, and all the zippers have built-in connectors or fit a tiny padlock. Also, the strap is metal reinforced. If you travel with expensive camera equipment, spare lenses, a laptop or a tablet, and you use them while you're out and about, a cross-body bag literally isn't going to do the job for you. You need to move up to a backpack or a camera bag, and these can be quite expensive. I travel with camera equipment. I'm still old-fashioned enough to use a single-lens reflex camera and usually tote at least one extra lens and a spare battery on every outing. Mine doesn't advertise itself as theft-proof, but I modified it pretty easily. The zipper compartments each have 2 pull tabs. You just fit a tiny combination lock to it and move on. Make sure it's returnable. It's difficult to tell from written descriptions, which are pitched more toward toting laptops than cameras, exactly what will fit and whether those pull tabs will even take a lock shank. This model, current on Amazon, will cost you about half of what I paid. Notice what the owner has done. He or she has draped it through the legs of the chair. You can do this with any backpack, incidentally. To swipe this one, the crook is going to have to knock you off the chair and then upset the chair. That's not happening. The odds are if he sees something like this, he's going to move on. One small warning. I know you're going to be tempted to put your wallet inside, and that's a fine idea as long as you make sure to have that padlock in place. Also, and you're going to find this to be something of a nuisance, most experts suggest if you're in a very crowded situation to wear your backpack in front of you and hold on to it. Now that we've walked through some safety first procedures, let's take a look at the last with the backpack and see if we can safety her up. Remember, this is about the worst possible backpack behavior you can do, but it's all fixable even with the current equipment. Notice those pretty leather straps? Only one is on her shoulder. One swipe with a sharp knife and a shove, and she'll be on the ground and her backpack will be gone probably forever. A strap on each shoulder makes this far less likely to happen. See that unlatched pouch? Even if she's walking in a crowd, one tiny swipe on the second strap, a bump or a jostle, and the insides are going to belong to the thief. One answer to this is to take that water bottle, which is currently in her left hand, and put it inside the backpack, along with a bunch of used Kleenex or anything else you don't want. Anything good, like her cell phone, which is currently in her right hand, and her wallet need to be buried at the bottom of the bigger compartment. Finally, she's by herself here, but if she were in a big crowd, for example, rambling along Las Ramblas in Barcelona, she needs to be smart. Wear the pack in front so she can hold on to it. No matter how cautious you are, how prepared, it's still possible to become a crime victim. Here's where recovery becomes really important. You can make this a whole lot easier if you do some preparation in advance. The first thing is to carry a list of your credit card numbers and how to contact your bank and your providers, and a photocopy of your passport. Do not put this in your wallet. You can take a photo of it with your phone, which is great unless your phone is swiped, or you can just print it out and put it under the lining of your shoe or boot. I've been doing this since 1970 and have never had to use it, but I always felt safer knowing I had it in my armory. If you feel something happening, scream and make a spectacle, but do not chase the thief. Your stuff can be replaced. If the pick decides to knock you over and you break a hip, your good time is going to end right then and there. Next, take a deep breath and stay calm. I know this is going to be the hardest advice to follow, but trust me, you will thank me for this later. You need to get your brain to a point where you can do some active thinking. The next step is going to be to pick yourself up, find the nearest police department, file a report, and be sure to get a copy. The odds that the local gendarmerie are going to find your stuff are pretty minimal, but you may need that police report for your insurance. Be sure to save it. Once you get back to the hotel, call your bank or credit card companies immediately. Remember I told you to write down those phone numbers? Now you know why. The company will cancel your card. Most have fraud protection, and they can overnight a replacement to you. The next thing to think about is, did your passport get swiped? This is actually quite scary because there is a huge market for American passports. If your passport was stolen, let's say at the train station, because unless you're going through some government checkpoint, your passport ought to be in that hotel safe, go immediately to the American embassy or consulate, or if you're in a city without one, make a phone call. This is why you're going to need the picture of that passport I mentioned. Finally, after all of this is done, congratulate yourself on being a savvy traveler. Did it go wrong? Yeah. Did you do everything possible to prepare? Yes. Were you careful? Yes. Did it go wrong anyway? Yes. Do not kick yourself. You deserve some congratulations. Come back next time for another adventure when we're going to begin our tour of Barcelona with me, the Armchair Traveler.